Hannah Arendt's analysis of St. Augustine concludes that fearlessness is what love seeks, yet this state can only be reached through a complete calm that is not shaken by future expectations. This requires presence, the removal of expectancy, and the transformation of time into a present of remembrance. Similarly, Thich Nhat Hanh's concept of interbeing suggests that by dissolving the boundaries between self and other, one's heart becomes expansive enough to receive suffering without being overwhelmed, much like a river receiving a handful of salt. Comprehensive insights on the human paradox. The exhaustive review of biological, psychological, and philosophical data clusters suggests that the human attempt to decouple love from fear or security from vulnerability is a primary driver of contemporary neurosis and relational failure. The data points toward several second and third order implications. First, the security equals vulnerability paradox is not merely a social strategy but a biological requirement for neuroplasticity. The awareness paradox demonstrates that when individuals use cognitive defenses to avoid the discomfort of vulnerability, they effectively shut down the neural pathways required for emotional integration and behavioral change. Thus, the willingness to be raw is the physiological prerequisite for becoming secure. Second, the equation, love equals fear, operates as a self-regulating feedback loop. The fear of loss acts as a motivator for relation-building behaviors. However, when this fear is unmanaged, it activates the amygdala and triggers pathological jealousy or avoidance habits, which then destroy the very love the fear was meant to protect. Third, the transition from false security, the dollhouse, to vulnerable authenticity is the primary developmental milestone of the adult psyche. This unraveling requires the individual to own their story of imperfection and face the terror of being seen, as explored by both Brown and Sartre. Concluding synthesis. The synthesis of these diverse frameworks reveals that human happiness is constantly beset by fear, not because of a lack of possession, but because of the safety of possession. True security is found in the general wholeness of humanity, the recognition that we are the cosmos made conscious, and that our individual survival is inextricably linked to the vulnerability of the collective. Ultimately, to love is to accept the risk of future grief, and to be secure is to embrace the risk of present exposure. The equations love equals fear and security equals vulnerability are the mathematical descriptions of a passionate and fulfilling life, where the glue of connection is the courage to stand, unarmored, in a world that is terrifying to the bone, yet laced with the sublime. Genuine transformation, therefore, requires a shift from seeking to be loved to cultivating the capacity to love, an art that requires the discipline of standing in the shudder of thought while holding the hand of another. Works cited 1.